This is my audience for Comms 101 Persuasive Speech. I'll go ahead and start my timer so I know where I'm at. Starting now. Today I want to talk to you guys about divorce. Divorce is one of the most prevalent things that not only have I experienced myself, but what kids are experiencing at a young age, and maybe even after college, their experiences growing up. And divorce is something that has hit home for me personally because my parents divorced when I was in 3rd grade, and that was something that has not only affected me from that day on, but something that affects me today. And there's 3 reasons that we see divorce as something that's very common today, and that's really what I want to speak about today, is those 3 reasons. The first being lack of commitment, and the second as being infidelity, and the third, most people say, is just too much arguing. And I just want to talk about this because divorce is one of the most immune events families face today. And there are these 3 reasons that are occurring, but I think that Jesus is the rock to build our marriages on, and today all other ground is sinking sand. And the first reason is lack of commitment. See, I believe that if Jesus is the rock and sin separates us from our Creator, then when we are separated from our Creator, then there's obviously a lack of commitment with our Creator. And also when we have that problem of sin as a disease in our lifestyle, we are separated from not only God but our spouse. And a recent national survey found that most common reasons for divorce today say there's 73% say is a lack of commitment is why there's divorce. And some have listed their commitment in a marriage as a constraint commitment. And a constraint commitment is people who are committed based off circumstance, as in being committed because either because they're kids, or because of religious beliefs that divorce is a bad thing, or because just because they're children or anything in that nature. And when we live in marriage that is based off circumstances, the identity of the marriage is not built on love. Instead, it becomes a counterfeit marriage without holding value of the God-given gift, which is marriage. Because God designed marriage to be between one man and one woman, to be becoming one and never being separated. And when we abuse the God-given gifts, we start to build a shelf and customize the problems that are on that shelf. And those always come with consequences, and the following more reasons apply when we start to build this shelf of circumstances. And the next one is too much arguing. Most people say they are reaching a point of divorce because all they do is argue. And I know we all eventually argue with someone and don't get along, but when arguing becomes the foundation, then we are losing our ground that God has given us. 56% of people say their divorce ended because of too much arguing. Dr. Phil says he can pinpoint if a couple is bound for impact, not based on if they fight, but how they fight. And also, most of the arguments in life today, I would say, and not only is this a personal belief, but statistically speaking, money is the number 1 reason couples are arguing today. And when couples lack commitment and their circumstances become the reasons of divorce, circumstances can't hold their marriage together any longer, and habits of arguing occurs, which erodes the love life of couples and sometimes leads a couple to our last reason couples divorce, which is infidelity. Statistics report about 60% of men commit adultery and 40% of women commit adultery. And the quote says, as problems emerge in a relationship, people are more likely to cheat. Infidelity is more common in a relationship where people feel misunderstood, underappreciated, and where fighting and bickering is common, which is our last reason, infidelity, why couples divorce. And we can see as we analyze the reasons for divorce that it isn't based off one problem, but it's based off multiple problems that add up leading to divorce. And I just want to read a scripture about Jesus being the rock of our foundation, and where we can find that our marriage can be built off a stronghold. And this is in the NLT, Matthew 7:21, and it says, 24 says, anyone who listens to my teaching and follows it is wise, like a person who builds a house on solid rock. Though the rain comes, and torrents and floodwaters rise, the winds beat against that house. It won't collapse because it is built on the bedrock. But anyone who hears my teaching and doesn't obey it is foolish, like a person who builds a house on sand. When the rain and floods come and the winds beat against that house, it will collapse with a mighty crash. I think Jesus gives us the perfect illustration of what our marriage should be built on. It should be on the solid rock that stands, and that is Jesus. When we build our life on Jesus, our marriages, our relationships, our friendships will stand anything, any storm, anything that will come in this time. And when we approach our marriages based off the bedrock that Jesus is talking about in the parable, our lives will improve, our relationships, our marriages will be able to stand anything. And I think that Jesus gives us the perfect solution to divorce. And I think it's a good thing to understand that these 3 reasons that Jesus has given us, or not Jesus, just statistics why people get divorced, is we can prepare for these storms that are going to happen, because it's not a matter if a storm comes, but it's a matter when we face these storms. And Jesus says simply that He is the rock, and when we build our life on the rock, our lives will be able to stand any storm that we face.